Hello, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's episode of Modesty's Property Corner. I hope you're all well. It was a lovely long bank holiday weekend, and we came straight out of that, and here we are again, back to back to reality. So I've missed you guys. The last time I was on this platform was last week, Wednesday. I was meant to be here on Monday, not on this particular platform though, on our Modesty's Money Masterclass on Monday. I couldn't make it because it was a bank holiday, so we just needed to take a break. Everybody needed to chill out with their families. And so here I am again, and here we are again talking property. So I remain your man, Ikenna Umezudike, and today we are going to be discussing something that is going to be very beneficial to every one of you listening to this. It's about the lessons I have learned from my unsuccessful property deals. You see, I just felt like I should share this with you guys, because a lot of the times we think that we're always interested in success stories, and most of the stories we hear are the success stories. Glamour. They are all glamorized, and everything looks so rosy when people tell you they go from point A to point B, right? But what's happened in between before they got to point B, nobody tells a lot about that story. And that in between, that's where the real struggle, that's where the real hustle is. And not everything we do, we succeed in. It's not everything we go into or every attempt we make that results into success. So we share our success stories all the time, and everybody gets to hear things that have gone really well. But when the real you is tested, when things have not gone really well, that's when the real test is, and that's where the real lessons are. So today I'm going to be sharing with you lessons that I've learned from a particular property deal that I went to do, and it didn't go well between me and the client. And I'm going to tell you everything that happened, because in this business, it's really important for us to be transparent. It's really important for us to be honest. It's really important for us to be objective. It's really important for us to tell our stories the way they are. Because some of those stories, especially the ones that has to do with failures or being unsuccessful or things falling through, those are places where we pick our lessons, and those are lessons that carry us through our lives. Because once we have learned that lesson, we will learn to apply it in different areas of our lives. So I'm very confident that what you're going to learn today and what we are going to discuss today will be useful to you in your personal or individual lives and in your business lives if you're a business person. Even if you're working for somebody else, there might be one or two things you pick out from today's conversation that you can take to your workplace or to your daily activities and apply them there. And that's the essence of what we are doing, educating ourselves to get better every day. So let's just go straight into, let me stop beating about the bush, and let's dive straight into this deal. So what happened? Let's look at the general overview of everything surrounding this particular deal I'm going to be talking about. So this is a deal that a client came to my office, and he wants to buy a new property. He already has a property he's living in, and he's looking to buy a better property, something better than what he currently lives in, and he wants to move out of the area he's living in into an area he considers a better area. And then he comes to me, and he was seeking my help. So this client is not an entirely new person to me. He's already known to me. We've known each other for some time. So there is that familiarity between me and the client. There is that cordiality as well in our relationship. And we relate very well. So when he came to my office, he said, "This is what I want to do. This is what I want to achieve. How are you going to help me do that?" I said, "Okay, let's look at where you are and where you're looking to go. There are two ways we can achieve this. It's either we sell your current property and use the proceeds to buy a new property a new residential property for you. Or we remortgage the current property and put it onto a buy-to-let mortgage and then rent it out and then use the proceeds of the remortgage to buy your new property. So the second option of renting it out means you get some income from that property as well, some extra rental income coming in. As against and then selling it means you're going to get, a whole lot of lump sum, and then you're not going to be owing any mortgage on the property. That's mortgage free, but you don't have any more property in the background. Use all that money to buy your property. Then if there is anything left, you can use it to invest in property, whenever you like. So we looked at these two options and we explored the situation. And then we looked at his income to see if he remortgages this property, will his income be enough to carry the mortgage for, the mortgage bit that is required to buy the new property after we have extracted what we need as deposits. So it happened to be that, due to his income and credit commitments situation, he wouldn't be able to finance that property if he remortgages his current property. So the only option left then was to sell it. And he said, okay, I'm going to consider selling it and then I'm going to make a decision. Then the next day he came to me and said, Iken, I've made a decision, I'm going to sell the property, if that is what it takes. I said, okay, we're going to use our estate agency arm of the business to help you sell the property, put it on the market, and get you the money that you need. So we agreed on that because we worked out how much he would need in mortgage to be able to buy the new property that he wants to buy. And then that mortgage, I researched lenders for him because of his credit commitments, because of his credit situation, and then his income. We considered all those things. And I found a lender for him. But then his credit commitment was an obstruction. And I said to him, this is how you are going to structure your credit commitments, and this is how you're going to shed off, those credit commitments that are becoming an issue from you getting the mortgage that you want. So I worked out a solution for him, and he applied that, and I said to him, apply this solution. While you are working on that solution, let me get this mortgage for you on the assumption, let me get this mortgage for you on the assumption that you are going to get that side of things done. And then I'm going to convince the lender that those credit commitments would have been paid off at the time of application. And that way we're going to get the mortgage in principle approved. And I went and I did that, and we got the mortgage in principle approved. So when we got the mortgage in principle approved, he was really happy. In fact, he was shocked, he was surprised. He said, how did you manage to do that? I said, well, that's my job. You do your job, I'll do mine, and then we get this done. So the confidence, the relationship actually grew between myself and this client. And the confidence grew. He was so happy that we were able to find a solution. He said to me, Ikenna, leave my own side of the deal for me. I'm going to get it done. I said, as long as you get your own side of the deal done, then we are good to go. So on this note, we agreed to sell the property. I got him a mortgage in principle, so we got mortgage in principle ready. All we need to do is get the property sold and get the credit commitments sorted, and that's it. So we agreed on those things, and then we moved on. So what happened next? So what happened next was I went to the client's house. First of all, I prepared a property evaluation for him. Yeah, I prepared that property evaluation for him, and I went to his house and we started discussing the property evaluation. And to do a physical evaluation, I went to the house to see the property myself, do a physical evaluation, and see how it compares to the computer-based valuation I've already prepared for him. So went there, I took measurements, I took photos, we looked around, and we both agreed on a sale price based on comparables of similar properties around that area. He said, this is how much I would like to put the property on the market for, And we agreed on that because, it matched the comparables. So I went on and I prepared this property for marketing, put it on the market, and we really put in a lot of effort in preparing the property to go onto the market. So we put the property on the market, and he was really happy with the advertising content that we did, with the videos, with the photos, and the way we approached it. He was really happy with that. He was really impressed with that. So we put the property on the market for sale, and within days, I think within 2 days of the property going on the market, in fact, not even in less than 2 days with the property going on the market, we started receiving phone calls and viewings. But somebody already said that they were willing to buy the property. They were willing to buy the property even before they came to view it. And we said, no, you have to come and view the property first, just to make sure. She said, no, I've seen enough on the photos and all that. We're going to buy the property. There were other people who wanted to view the property as well. So we had to give everybody opportunity to come view the property. So viewings happened. The property was really, it caught the interest of so many people who wanted to view the property. And they came and they viewed the property, and a sale was agreed, right? So we agreed a sale for this property, and the buyers now went to do their thing, to do their mortgage sorted and get their mortgage sorted. So as we agreed the sale, the vendor was obviously happy as well, and we're looking forward to a successful completion of the sale of this property. So what happened, and then what went wrong after sale was agreed? So the lender of the buyer needed to do a lender valuation, right? They sent a surveyor to come and do valuation. But before the valuation, there was something that I agreed with. There was something I agreed with the vendor. The vendor said to me, I asked the vendor, do you want us to put up a board sign? Before we even put the property on the market, do you want us to put up a board saying for sale? He said, no, I don't want a board in front of my house. You put a board after the property has been sold, right? As the property is sold, then you can put a board. I don't want, to attract unnecessary attention. I said, okay, that's fine. We agreed on that. That was a proper agreement. So we agreed on that. People came to view the property. They viewed the property. Sale was agreed. The property was sold. And then the lender sent in their valuer to come and value the property. The lender's valuer came in, looked around, did the valuation and all that, took their photos and checked out all the properties front and back, and then they left. The same day that the lender's valuer came and left, the board company that we use, we have already instructed them to put up a sold sign in front of the property, because as far as we are concerned, the property was sold. So on that same day, the vendor came back from work, because he gave me the keys to let the valuer in. He came back from work and he called me on the phone, and he was sounding very distraught, very angry. And I said, what's going on? He said, my back door was left unlocked. My jaw dropped. I was just listening to hear what next was going to happen. Maybe a burglary has taken place, or people have broken into his house, and I said, is anything missing? Did anything happen to the property? He said, no, nothing happened, but my back door was left unlocked. And I said, I apologize profusely for that. It was actually the valuer that opened that back door, went into the garden to see things for himself. I did not realize he did not lock it back with the key. He just locked the door. He just shut the door, but it wasn't locked with the key. So the vendor was obviously very, very angry about this. And he said, Ikenna, I feel so disappointed in this. You did not take care of my property. I gave you my keys and you did not take care of my properties. Why did you do that? And I said, I'm so sorry. It just skipped my mind before I left the property to check all the doors to make sure they are all locked, because I thought the valuer had locked the door. I apologized to him. And he said, okay, that's not just the issue. The other issue is I came back and I saw a sold sign, a board saying sold in front of my house. Why is the board in front of my house? And I said, well, the property is sold. We agreed that I can only put up a board once the property is sold. And he said, but the property is not sold yet. I said, well, by our technical interpretation of sold properties, once a sale is agreed, you've issued a memorandum of sale, and valuation as the property is as good as sold. It's just a mortgage process that is good. He said, no, that's not what I meant by saying put up a board. I said, well, it should be when I leave the property, when I'm no longer here, I've handed the keys over, then you can put up a board to say it's sold. I said, oh, sorry, I did not realize that was your interpretation of a sold property. I thought, by our interpretation as professionals, we regard sold properties as properties that sale has been agreed on. And that's why you see boards, property boards saying sold STC. That is sold subject to contract, right? So when you see a board with a sign saying sold, it doesn't necessarily mean that sale has completed. It simply means that sale has been agreed. And if sale has been agreed, the estate agent has a right to put up a sign to say sold. But he said, no, that was not what I meant. You have put up a board in front of my house saying sold, and my property is not sold. That is a disappointment as well to me. So I'm not happy about this. And he said, I saw my friends saw my property on the social media with a sold sign on it. And they were calling me to say, oh, you sold your property. When did you sell your property? That's an embarrassment to me. What's my property doing on the social media? So you can see a cocktail of things that he was unhappy about. So I tried to calm this client down to say, okay, calm down. Let's talk through these things one at a time. Okay? First of all, your back door was unlocked. Was not locked with a key. I apologize for that. I abdicated my responsibility and expected the valuer to lock it. That was my fault. The board was just a misunderstanding of your interpretation of a sold property from my interpretation of a sold property, because I was acting on the basis of a professional knowledge of what sold means. Okay? As for your property being on the social media, remember, when we were marketing this property, we were also marketing it on the social media, and that was how it attracted all the attention it attracted. In fact, some of the marketing materials that were meant to put on the social media, I even sent it to you, and you were happy with them. Besides being on the social media, your property was also advertised on the second biggest property portal in the UK, and thousands of people saw the property there, and that was how it attracted. So if we did not expose your property at the marketing stage like this, how would we have attracted all these potential buyers? So I do not really see the difference in your property being on the social media when it's been sold, because we're trying to update our followers. We're trying to use it also as a marketing tool for the company to say, yes, we can sell your property. Look at this one that we've sold. We are not different from other property estate agents, in the marketplace. That's what estate agents do. When they sell a property, they make a noise about it. And, you're happy, you're happy your property got sold, we're happy it got sold. So we just wanted to use it as a marketing and celebrate it, and also get the marketing advertisement aspect of our business done through that bid. He was still unconvinced. So he felt betrayed, he felt let down, he felt disappointed, and he complained bitterly, and he felt his privacy was breached by putting his property on the social media, despite the fact that the property has been on the social media for ages and people were viewing the property that way. So what happened was that the vendor now said, I'm not happy with this, and I don't think I can go ahead with this deal anymore. I said, okay, if that's your decision, I am going to respect that. So we parted ways on that ground, and he was not happy, with the way things were dealt with. I tried my best to explain things to him. He later came back to me actually to say, okay, yeah, let's go. Let's carry on with this relationship. We've come a long way. We've got a buyer in the pipeline. Let's just carry on. I said, okay, that's fine. We moved on. And then he came back again a day after to say, you know what? I changed my mind again. I don't want to do it again. Sorry, I'm going to go to somebody else. I said, okay, that's fine. If that's your decision. As long as, you understand our point and we are not going our separate ways in anger. So he said, no, I have nothing against you. I just want to move on, somehow else. So he moved on and I moved on. So that was where the deal died, and the deal did not progress beyond that stage. So that was the story of this unsuccessful deal. But what were the lessons that I learned from that? I wasn't happy that I lost that deal, to be honest with you. And that deal was also supposed to come with the mortgage side of things. So I lost the property sale deal, I lost the mortgage deal as well. So what were the lessons that I learned from these failed deals? Lesson number one I learned from that. Always clarify the interpretation of agreements with your clients. Do not assume anything. When you agree something with your client, make sure the client understands the interpretation of that agreement. Because the dispute, the crisis, might not lie in the agreement itself. It might lie in the difference in the interpretation between yourself and the client. How does that relate to this deal? The client said, you can only put up a board in front of my house when the house is sold. We agreed on that. We both agreed when the house is sold. As a property professional, a house is sold, as far as I'm concerned, once sale is agreed. So I had no reason to doubt whatsoever that I was doing the right thing by putting up a board saying sold in front of a client's property when they sell. And I was even thinking that the client was going to be excited, was going to be happy, was going to like it. But it turned out the other way. The client said, nope, that was all we agreed. I said sold, and sold means when I hand the keys over, that's when my property is sold. I'm still living here. My property is not sold. So you see, the difference is in interpretation. He has a layman's interpretation and understanding of a sold property. I had a technical and professional understanding of a sold property, and I acted on the basis of my technicality and my professional knowledge, and he was acting based on his layman's knowledge. And at the end of the day, I should have made sure from the time we made that arrangement that he understood what sold property was and at what stage a property is considered sold. Professionally, I was right. But business-wise and commercial-wise, the customer was right, because I did not clarify with him what sold means and when a property is sold. And then on that note as well, that a property being sold, that layman's knowledge that he has a right to that layman's knowledge. Because I did not clarify. The other thing I failed to also do was to double check before I mounted the board. Okay? Though I knew I was doing the right thing, technically, professionally, I was doing the right thing. But I did not double check with the client to say, Mr. Client, we're putting up a board in front of your house saying sold. Is that okay? Just as I agreed. I just wanted to double check. But I did not do that. I did not double check. And then I acted on my professional instincts. And the professional instinct to my client was a disappointment. So sometimes you could be correct as a professional. But if that level of correctness does not translate into a concrete double checking and a concrete confirmation of a client's consent. A client's consent. Consent means you're on both sides. He's in agreement with whatever you're doing. He's in agreement with whatever you're saying. He might agree with what you say, but make sure he also agrees with what you do. Right? So on that side, I learned my lesson as well to say consent in agreement or verbally might mean, different thing to consent in action. So make sure, so that's why you see people getting into trouble for having sex with minors who have not given, even with adults who have not given them consent, right? So there is nothing wrong in having sex with an adult, but then if you don't have consent to do that, it becomes rape. So the consent aspect of that lesson was a very big one for me. I did what I thought was right, but I did not get the consent from the client just to double check. We had verbally agreed before, but I did not double check. So always double check and always check. The other lesson from that deal was that we had a lot of verbal agreements which we did not communicate to each other officially. Like the sold board, the board thing. There was no written arrangement, there was no written communication via text, WhatsApp, email, or a communication channel that has it in print. Oh, we can only put up board on this property if it is sold. And by sold, it means when sale is agreed. And the client will say, no, that's not what I mean by. He will reply back with an email with what he thinks sold is, and it will be clear. So always communicate clearly in written terms. When you're communicating with your client, make sure that agreements, arrangements, and consents, you get them in writing. That way, it will not be your words against the clients. Everybody will be in agreement with what they are saying. Social media. Clients' understanding of social media are different. To this client, his privacy was breached when he had put his property on social media as being sold. But when the property was being marketed, there was no board in front of his property, but he was happy for it to be on social media or on any platform. The moment a board appeared there saying it was sold, it appeared awkward to him to have his property on social media saying it was sold, because his friends now knew that his property was sold. But then his friends would also know that his property was sold if they went onto the property portal where we advertise it, which is on the internet, which will also already say sold. If they went to our website, they will also see the property advertised as sold. So the anger on social media, I just didn't understand it. I tried to explain it to him to say, I really don't see where the social media anger is coming from. If you are worried about your property being on the social media, you would have asked us not to advertise on the internet at all. Because anything that goes on the internet is for public view. You're showing it to the whole world. You were happy for us to market it, and we told you the channels we're going to use to market it. So when it is sold, it's only normal that we use the same channel to inform our followers and our clients and potential clients that, look, this property is sold, it's no longer in the market, it's gone. That's a way of updating potential buyers that the property was gone. So that's what we try to achieve with that. Okay, so always double check. The next lesson was to never abandon your responsibility. I accepted the responsibility that I took the responsibility of locking my client's back door, and I handed it to a third party, and I asked the valuer to lock it. I expected the valuer to lock it. In this case, he did not. So I took responsibility for that. So always take responsibility when you are responsible for something. Don't abdicate those responsibilities to third parties, especially when you're dealing with a client. If you're responsible for that client's property and welfare, take responsibility for that. Don't abdicate it. Don't hand it over to a third party. The third party might not be as caring as you think they are, as you expect them to be. All right, everyone, this is where we're going to end today's episode. Thank you so very much for being part of today's episode, and I hope these lessons that we have learned from this unsuccessful property deal will help you achieve your aim of managing client relationships better. And use these lessons, apply them in your everyday business and daily lives, and trust me, these things are going to take you far. I've learned my lessons, and I've shared them with you, and these lessons are going to take me as far as possible. Thank you very much, and I'll see you guys again next week. Before then, I'll see you on Monday on Modesty's Money Master.